Once upon a time, in a quiet meadow surrounded by rolling hills, lived a humble little mouse named Oliver. Oliver was a country mouse who adored his simple life in the countryside. His days were spent exploring fields of wildflowers, nibbling on fresh grains, and listening to the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Oliver's world was peaceful, and he cherished every bit of it. One sunny afternoon, Oliver received a letter from his cousin, Theodore, who lived in the bustling city. Theodore, the city mouse, had always been curious about Oliver's countryside life, and in his letter, he expressed his desire to visit. Dearest Oliver, it's been far too long since we last saw each other. I've been longing to experience the tranquil life of the countryside that you speak so fondly of. May I visit you this coming weekend? Yours, Theodore. Oliver was delighted and immediately wrote back, inviting Theodore to his humble burrow. When the weekend arrived, Theodore appeared at Oliver's door, his tiny suitcase in hand. The city mouse looked sleek, with a shiny coat and an air of sophistication. Oliver greeted him with a warm smile and a hearty embrace. Welcome, cousin. It's wonderful to see you, Oliver said, ushering Theodore inside. Theodore glanced around Oliver's cozy burrow. It was small, with simple furnishings made of twigs and leaves. A modest spread of fresh berries, nuts, and grains was laid out on a wooden platter. Ah, so this is the countryside life you've been raving about, Theodore said, raising an eyebrow. It's quaint. Oliver chuckled. It may not be as grand as the city, but I'm sure you'll find its charm. Theodore sat down and tasted the countryside fare. The berries are fresh, I'll give you that, he admitted. But it lacks the variety and richness of city food. Oliver simply smiled, content with his simpler tastes. The next day, Oliver took Theodore on a tour of the countryside. They strolled through sunlit meadows, visited a sparkling brook, and climbed a hill that offered a breathtaking view of the valley below. Theodore, though impressed by the scenery, couldn't help but comment on the lack of excitement. It's beautiful, cousin, but where's the hustle and bustle? The noise and the lights? Life here seems so uneventful, Theodore said. Oliver laughed. Not every moment needs excitement, Theo. Sometimes, peace is its own reward. Despite their differing opinions, Theodore enjoyed his time in the countryside. However, he couldn't resist inviting Oliver to visit him in the city. You must come see my world, Oliver. Let me show you the wonders of the city, Theodore insisted. After some persuasion, Oliver agreed. All right, Theo. I'll visit, but only for a few days. The countryside will always be my home. The following week, Oliver packed his belongings and set off with Theodore to the city. The journey was long, and as they approached the urban landscape, Oliver's eyes widened in awe. Towering buildings reached the sky, streets were alive with activity, and lights sparkled even in the daytime. Welcome to the city, Theodore exclaimed proudly. Oliver followed his cousin to a grand apartment nestled in the walls of a luxurious restaurant. Theodore's home was extravagant, with velvet cushions, polished furniture, and shelves lined with gourmet cheese and exotic nuts. Make yourself at home, Theodore said, offering Oliver a piece of aged cheddar. This is just the beginning. That evening, Theodore took Oliver to the restaurant's dining room after the humans had left. The table was a feast of delicacies, creamy pastries, rich meats, sweet fruits, and cheeses of every kind. Help yourself, cousin, Theodore said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Oliver hesitated. Is this safe? Theodore laughed. Of course. The humans are gone. This is the city's bounty. Reluctantly, Oliver sampled the food. The flavors were extraordinary, far richer than anything he'd tasted before. He began to understand why Theodore loved the city. However, the city life wasn't without its dangers. As the mice feasted, a loud clatter echoed through the room. A cat had entered, its sharp eyes scanning the area. "Quick, hide," Theodore whispered, darting into a small hole in the wall. Oliver followed, his heart pounding. They watched as the cat prowled around the table, its whiskers twitching. "Is it always like this?" Oliver asked, trembling. "It's part of the thrill," Theodore replied with a grin. "You can't have luxury without a little risk." For the rest of the evening, Oliver couldn't shake his unease. The city was exciting, but it felt overwhelming and perilous. The next morning, Theodore proposed a tour of the city. They visited bustling markets, dazzling theaters, and grand parks filled with statues and fountains. Oliver marveled at the sights, but felt out of place amidst the noise and chaos. As night fell, Theodore prepared another extravagant feast. This time, Oliver declined. "Thank you, Theo, but I think I've had enough," Oliver said. "The food is amazing, and the sights are impressive, but this life, it's not for me." Theodore frowned. "Why not? Don't you enjoy the excitement and abundance?" Oliver nodded. "I do, but it comes with too much worry. In the countryside, I may not have luxury, but I have peace. I'd rather live simply and sleep soundly than have riches and live in fear." Theodore sighed, realizing his cousin's point. "I suppose our worlds are just too different, cousin." Oliver smiled. "And that's okay. We can still visit each other and share our lives." The next day, Oliver returned to the countryside, feeling a newfound appreciation for his quiet life. He cherished the simplicity of his burrow, the freshness of his food, and the serenity of the fields. Meanwhile, Theodore stayed in the city, continuing to enjoy its thrills and luxuries. But every now and then, he would think of Oliver and his peaceful world. Despite their differences, the two cousins remained close, each respecting the other's way of life. And so, the city mouse and the country mouse proved that family bonds can transcend even the widest of worlds.